Welcome to Google Weekly.
Welcome, my name is Bjorn Berendt, and this is the Google Weekly Podcast, which is part of the AskBJ.net network of EdTech services. Never stop learning. This is episode 13. If I could travel in time, I'd visit. Recorded January 23rd, 2012. Welcome, everybody. I'm actually just getting over a cold. It started off on Wednesday, hit me pretty hard, and I think this is kind of the first day I feel back to normal. So we'll see how the show goes, and I have a bottle of water if I need it. First of all, I want to talk about a few things with the Google Weekly Network. The first thing is my VT Ed Hangout. I've actually renamed to just a GWPodcast listener hangout. It is open to everybody. What I found is I put it out there, targeting Vermont, and I wound up getting response from Sweden, New York, and Vermont. So I'm just turning that into the first GW Podcast Listener Hangout, and that's going to be February 6th at 3:15 Eastern Standard Time. And other things, I've added a Google resource link to the website. This is stuff that I have produced and either posted to the Google template gallery or just have produced and is great resources for Google. So I encourage you to go check that out. That will actually bring you to my other website, askbj.net. So those two things have been added to the website. If you're a regular listener and you've gone to the website, you will notice that I've kind of changed the way I was doing my podcast. Before, when I first started, I was posting them straight to YouTube. I still like doing that, and I still do that. But on the website, I'm just going to go straight to the MP3. I'm finding that it is much, much faster, and it also allows other podcast-specific feeds to get picked up for your phone and for other things. So on the website, so instead of clicking the graphic, which would play a YouTube video, you now under it have the play and speaker under the graphic, and you just hit that. If you're listening via, via the mobile app or on an RSS feed, hey, hello, you've already got this figured out. Other things. I'm going to add a section to the end of this show. It's called Universal Design for Learning. What it is, I am actually taking my master's degree. I'm on my last class. So as of this summer, I will have my master's in curriculum and instruction, but I'm on my last class, and it's Universal Design for Learning. And part of the class, I have to maintain a What Did I Learn blog. So I've decided just to kind of incorporate that into the podcast. I figure my target audience is education, and Universal Design for Learning is a very good educational concept. Last thing, I have to acknowledge a mistake I made in one of my last shows. I mispronounced one of the podcast networks that I've been listening to for a while and used a lot of their advice for starting my own. And that's the Element OP network. I believe I pronounced it Element OPI, and it's actually the Element OP network, and Mark on his show actually called me out on it. So Mark, I'm pretty sure you're listening, and I have where he got the name Element OP from, and this is to acknowledge my mistake in mispronouncing his network. So here it is.
We have formed a company, a production company. It's called Element OP Productions. It's a stupid name, but it's funny. Element, as in the periodic table of elements. OP as in Opie Taylor. Element OP. So, it's a play on words of the alphabet, Element OP, right? Element OP. Again, we've talked about this when we did the logo for the Tightwad Tech, this sort of amorphous jumping jack man sort of thing. And people said, well, what does it mean? It doesn't have to mean anything. It's just fun. It's memorable. And most importantly, the URL was available.
Okay, that was Mark from the Tightwad Tech. Hi, Mark. Glad you're a listener. I was listening to your show today. And realize that some of your content on the periodic table makes for an awkward moment when your principal walks in. So, back to the show. What's new in Google? Well, there's actually been a lot new in Google. I think the last show was kind of a really shortened show. I just talked about their new searching. So first of all, there are some new management features in the Google Apps for administrators, improved email compliance footers, and an improved approve blocked sender list and file attachment policies. That is all management features for the administrators. And we have compliance footers. I haven't really played with these too much, but I did see them in there. And it looks like it's a way to add something to the header of every email that goes out that specifies that it's from your business. And the reason why they're doing that is because the from address actually can be spoofed by spammers. But this is something that will not be able to be changed. There's an improved block sender list, which is going to be great for elementary schools, where you can choose who can you send to and who can receive email. And I believe this is set at the OU level, so that a lot of these policies can be in there. File attachment policies, and how to access some of these new features. And what you want to do is, if you're an administrator, log into your control panel, click on Settings, click on Email, and from the email settings, click on Filters. You can filter these by organizational unit, you can add different settings, but that's where the filters are found for these new features for Google Apps administrators. There is more control for delegated and secondary domain administrators. So these are not the main administrators, these are the other ones. But these administrators now have a little bit more rights. Looks like you can choose to have these administrators remotely wipe multiple devices. So if you are a school that has Android tablets, or if you're a school that manages, or a business that manages Android phones, you can delegate who has the rights to wipe these devices if something happens. It also, administrators with email addresses and non-primary domains can also access the Google Apps control panel. So those are some new additions for sub-administrators or secondary domain administrators. Here's another one. Again, this is, I guess, really technical one, but Log Analyzer, Message Header Analyzer, and other support tools now available for Google Apps administrators. These will be for administrators who are synchronizing Microsoft Outlook, synchronizing Exchange, BlackBerry, Active Directory Sync. There's a lot more analyzers and tools to help either with issues that are going on or just kind of track what's going on with that. One of the ones that I thought was kind of cool was a header analyzer that can tell you how many hops and some other information that's happened within emails. There's been improvements to the Gmail offline Chrome app. I'm just going to let you click on the link for that one because I didn't actually put it into the show notes. And this one's kind of one of the more important ones that I really want you guys to, I don't want to say I really want you to pay attention to, but it might perk your ears a little bit more. Google has taken a hard look at some of the other applications that they have had, and I'm just going to read this. Google has taken a hard look at products that replicate other features, haven't achieved the promise we had hoped for, or can't properly integrate into the overall Google enterprise. I'm going to do a shout out to Niilo. Thank you for sending this to me. He's one of my local friends and listeners. And basically what it is Google has kind of announced some of the things that they are either no longer supporting or kind of moving to other areas. The first of which is Google Message Continuity. And essentially, if you know what this is, okay, you know what it is. It was a disaster recovery for Microsoft Exchange. This was for Google businesses who are using Gmail as a backup for Exchange. Basically, what Google says is, yeah, that's not what we were in. We actually want you to move to Gmail and kind of get rid of the Exchange altogether. So what they basically said, customers who have paid for that, it will be honored throughout their contract, but it will be shut down after which. And like I said, they're encouraging you to move straight onto Gmail. This one kind of surprised me, but then I kind of read into what they were asking for. Google Sky Map for Android. I have this on my phone. It is one of my popular ones that I recommend. So it was surprising when I saw it on the list, but it made me a little bit more comfortable. What Google is doing for this is they're not dropping this. Google Sky Map was originally a 20% project by their employees. And what they're doing is they're not getting rid of this. What they're doing is they're open sourcing the app so anybody can go download and contribute to it. And it looks like they're collaborating with Carnegie Mellon University so they can take over future development of the Sky Map. So while that may not be a Google managed product anymore, it looks like it is going to be further developed. Niilo Base is going away. I'm not exactly sure what that is. It was a data management platform that was purchased by Google. Here's a big scare that, or not a scare, but another big one, big name that many people know. Picnic will be going away as of April 19th, 2012. So Picnic, I know this was used by a lot of people. This was bought out by Google. And this is something I've kind of seen Google do in the past. They've bought it out. Google has hired all these Picnic people, or when they bought them out, they kind of absorbed all these people from Picnic. And now they're having them working on probably Picasa or Google Apps integration. So a lot of the features that you saw in Picnic and a lot of the developers that built Picnic will be now developing for the Google Apps product. So I can see a lot of those features being absorbed into the Google Enterprise. But the actual Picnic is going away. Premium customers will be refunded. And that is going away April 19th, 2012. The Social Graph API is going away on April 20th. And Urchin, this was the foundations for Google Analytics, is also going away. So Google Analytics has grown up. Urchin is going away. Okay, the next one is the inspiration for the title. And that is Doodle for Google is due by March 20th. The new Doodle for Google contest, and this is for K-12 schools, and people in K-12 can submit their own doodle. What it is there will be a winning doodler will take home a $30,000 college scholarship and $50,000 in technology grants for their schools. The theme for this year's doodle is, if I could travel in time, I'd visit. Now, they've made the submissions a lot easier. It's open to K-12, and I'm not only going to encourage 2 schools I work for, but I encourage every school and every student to submit their doodle. I think it is a great opportunity. It is a great thing that Google is doing. The doodle will be shown on either their featured list if they're, I think, a runner-up, or actually be a doodle for a day on Google's homepage if you are the big winner. Okay, the last thing about what's new in Google is an interview with President Obama. So President Obama is going to have a Google Plus Hangout. And I think this is really, really cool. Not everybody will be able to be entering in the Hangout. You can submit your questions via YouTube that you want President Obama to answer. And what they'll be doing is the top voted questions will be asked of President Obama during this Google Hangout. Not only that, but if you were one of the ones that have posted one of these top voted questions, you will be possibly invited to the Hangout itself. So by all means, check that out. The actual Hangout will be done January 30th at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and he'll be answering those questions. You can submit your questions from now through January 28th. So you have to both submit your question and to vote on a question by going to the White House's YouTube channel. There is an option to submit via text. However, they're really encouraging you to use YouTube technology to submit your questions. And as I mentioned, several of the participants will be able to join the Hangout with President Obama. The submissions, they're looking to be about 20 seconds long, and they would also like you to let them know a little bit about yourself, like where you're from. Okay, and that's going to conclude the What's New in Google section of the website. And let's move on to the What's Current in Google. And I find that I use this little feature quite a bit, and it happens a lot when you copy and paste from the website. So if you go to a website and you copy the data and then you paste it into, well, it could be actually Word, it can be Google, anywhere. It'll keep the formatting of the website. Well, that can actually cause problems because when you copy and paste, it actually brings in, well, you can go back to the old HTML code, and that code can get really flubbed up very easily. and it tries to keep the formatting, but sometimes if you want to just make that fit with your writing, it just doesn't work. Well, there's a little trick, and the trick is to actually remove formatting. There is a remove formatting button. After you paste it in and highlight it, and then go up to Docs, Format, and then choose Clear Formatting. You can also hit the Control and the / key, which is the one above the Enter key, and that will remove any of the formatting, remove all the HTML, and you're left with the information that looks like the rest of your document. And I use that quite a bit. The same goes for Gmail. Gmail also has the remove formatting button. So this works in Documents, it works in Gmail, and that is the remove formatting. Great little tip, especially if you're copying and pasting off the web. Okay, moving on to the app exploration part of the website. The first one I want to talk about is the Marketplace app. This is the one that Google Apps administrators have to enable. And this is going to be SlideRocket. SlideRocket is one of the more popular apps to add in. And what it is an alternative to Google Presentation. It's a web-based presenter, but it has a lot more bells and whistles. That is SlideRocket. It is free to schools, and I encourage you to add that if you're a Google Apps administrator. The next one, it is the offline Google Mail. Now, what this is an actual Chrome app. So if you have a Chromebook, or if you have a laptop with Chrome on it, and you want to actually access your Gmail when there is no internet access, you need to download this offline Google Mail app. And so I put the link on the show notes, so go check it out. Or you could just search offline Google Mail, and it will basically synchronize your mail for X amount of days. I think that was one of the improvements they've made. They actually gave you some choices as to how many days you want to synchronize the mail. It looks very much like the mobile app. So it's not your standard Gmail that you're used to. It's more of the mobile version of the Gmail. But if you're offline, just go ahead and double-click the app, and it'll open up, and you'll be able to see your email. You can send and receive. The sending will happen as soon as you get back into service. So that's the offline Gmail app. Last week, I started the Android app of the week. And again, this is another one by Niilo. I'm hoping I'm getting your name right. Niilo, kind of contacted me through Google Plus and has mentioned some really cool Android apps out there. And I'm hoping to have him in as a listener spotlight sometime soon. And the one that he recommended was called Lama, Location Profiles. How I use it, when I enter my work, it will automatically set my phone to silent, and it actually automatically changes my Google chat status to @MSJ, so all the other employees throughout the school kind of know I've now entered the building versus when I'm not in the building, because that actually has come up quite a bit. So I use the location profiles to set that for me, and it's worked out really, really nicely. I've been very happy with the app. It's not immediately intuitive, so it took me a little bit to get used to and to learn. But now that I really do like it. Their location, where it basically says, well, where are you and how to tell where you are, is done via cell towers. And I thought this was a really good way of doing it. It's less accurate. And believe me, I've noticed that it's less accurate when I'm using the cell towers because I've been away from MSJ and all of a sudden it turns on and says I'm at MSJ. But it also means I don't need to turn on my GPS, which means my battery life lasts longer. So it's one of the, you have more accuracy versus battery life. I'm going to choose a little battery life because my phone sits in my pocket all day. So that's Lama Location Profiles, and that is an Android app. That's going to conclude the main section of the show. I did say I'm going to add on Universal Design for Learning section, which will start right now. Okay, as I mentioned early on in the show, that I am going to be starting, just at least for this semester, I'm going to be doing something on Universal Design for Learning and talking about what I've learned each week. It's one of the assignments. Well, this week was the first week that we've had the class, and the teacher put out a little email saying, here's the definition, tell me what you think. Well, the definition talked about opportunities for student learnings and how UDL provides, or Universal Design Learning, aka UDL, it provides opportunities for student learnings. When I first read that, I just kind of said, okay, opportunities. That means the student is given a chance to show what they've learned. And in my mind, my initial thought on this one was, okay, the student has gone through the learning, and now they are given different places where they can apply that learning to gain an understanding. I actually called it reactive. While I think that's actually a really cool way of teaching and providing understanding to students, it's not what Universal Design for Learning is about. Universal Design for Learning is about looking at the individual ways that students learn, whether it be recognition, strategic, affective, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. Each student learns differently, and that's kind of a known thing. And Universal Design says, well, when you're building your lessons, you build it for everybody has a chance to learn. Don't build it for the norm. Don't build it for the students who have different needs. Build it for everybody. While I can explain this left and right, there is a comic out there, a little picture out there, and maybe I'll find it and post a link to it on the show notes. And this kind of explains Universal Design for Learning greatly. And what it is it's a snowy day outside of school, and there's a lot of people waiting to go into the school, and there's a janitor shoveling. He is shoveling all the steps out right now, and he says, and someone in a wheelchair comes up and says, could you please shovel the ramp? Well, the janitor kind of says, all these other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I will clear the ramp for you. Well, then the person in the wheelchair points out, but if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in. And that's the premise behind Universal Design for Learning. There are ways to teach things that apply to everybody, and this is how you want to approach your lessons. It's also in the reading, it talked about predict variability and apply systematic variability. So making sure that these different variants are built into the lessons. The class I just took previous to this was on differentiated instruction. And I think this was kind of threw me off because I was thinking universal design, it's universal, it's all-encompassing. Differentiated talks about really individualizing and making things different. So universal and differentiated seem like they should be different concepts, when in actuality they're very, very similar. So those are the things I've kind of learned. I've clarified what Universal Design for Learning is. I gained a little bit more understanding about what I've learned about differentiated instruction and universal design and how they compare. And I kind of gotten reminded about the recognition, strategic, and effective learning methods that are out there. And I'm sure I'm going to learn about Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. It's one of my favorite things. Because, I've noticed going through all these classes that I really am not the standard learner. If you're looking at the recognition, strategic, and effective, I'm a very strategic learner. And when I was in high school, I think recognition or repetitiveness was the standard way of teaching, and honestly, that just didn't work out for me. So I never felt like I was really that smart of a student in high school. But now that I'm getting out in the workforce and I'm doing a lot of these things and I'm able to apply my skills at strategic learning to my job, I feel very comfortable in what I'm doing. I feel very confident in what I'm doing. And that was a different feeling than I had when I was in school learning about things. So that a lot of these new learning theories are coming to the classroom, I think are very, very beneficial to students. It would have been beneficial to me as a student when I was in high school. So I'm glad to see these things are coming to play. And I'll keep you up to date with what I learn about Universal Design for Learning. Again, this was just week 1. And thank you very much. I think that's going to conclude the show, so I'm going to hit the closing remarks right now. So thank you very much for listening to the Google Weekly Podcast with your host, Bjorn Barrett. You can follow the podcast and contribute by going to www.google-weekly.net. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, iTunes, and Google+. I think Google Plus is probably the one that is booming right now. 2 weeks ago, I had 13 listeners. Today, I have over 300 people following the Google Plus, the Google Weekly Google Plus profile. Boy, I'm throwing a lot of tongue twisters into the show. You can follow me with the Android app that can be downloaded to your Android phone, like I said, or if you have an iOS account, iTunes is probably the ideal way right there. And I encourage you to get into the conversation about these shows by posting comments either straight to the website or on Twitter and Twitter or Google Plus and just use the hashtag GWPodcast, I guess within your social network. Again, thank you for listening and never stop learning.
This is Torrance, and thank you for listening.